Hello, welcome to Revenant Reads, and this is the wrap up for June of 2021. So I had a pretty good reading month last month for June. Got through 6 books, which is good for me. Um, one of the first ones I finished, and I'm just going to go through these very quickly. I do talk about each of these in more depth in my Fresh Read Kills videos, where I talk about the things I just recently read, and I go much more in depth on my thoughts. So this is just a very quick recap summary. One of the first ones I finished was The Last Day, Wrath, Ruin, and Reason in the Great Lisbon Earthquake of 1755. This is by Nicholas Shrady, and I had chosen this because I participated in the Reading Euro 2021 challenge created by Mark over at Book Time with Elvis, where we follow the Euro Soccer Championships. And he randomly assigned each of us who participated a European country that was a part of it. And we would read a book either from or about that country, and we would follow them through the tournament. And if they got defeated by another country, we would read something about or from that country. So a couple of the things I'm going to be showing are related to that. And this was a fun, popular history, definitely a popular history, where Shrady talks about how the earthquake ushered in a transition phase for Lisbon and Portugal overall, which, I mean, I didn't say yet Portugal was the country I was assigned. And it kind of helped to usher in the Enlightenment. Lisbon beforehand was a place kind of ruled by the Inquisition and Jesuits, a place where Jews were burned at the stake in front of the palace. And it goes from something being much more akin to the kind of Enlightenment that the rest of Europe was doing. And it was obviously a pretty difficult birth, or rebirth, I should say. But overall, he treats this as a triumphant success story with some setbacks and not a permanent one. But certainly the Enlightenment is the hero here against dogmatic religion. So this sounds interesting. Again, it's popular history. Not, there's no extensive as far as notes or anything. But I would recommend this. I enjoyed this as a nice read. Portugal did end up being defeated. They weren't knocked out yet, but they were defeated in the group stage by Germany. So I read Perfume, The Story of a Murderer by Patrick Süskind. And I really, really enjoyed this. We have this mid-18th century France, begins in Paris and goes off into the countryside. And we have this individual. I can't speak French. I hate even trying this name. I think it's Grenouille, maybe. I apologize if I butchered that. But he is born without smell himself, but with an almost superhuman, really superhuman, ability to smell just about everything around him and distinguish those smells. And he is also something of a psychopath. So he begins murdering women in order to try to use the technology of perfume to permanently capture the scent of a woman, of a young girl, especially one kind of in the prime of puberty with red hair and green eyes. So, of course, this is a very dark tale, but also I think it has a lot of dark humor to it as well, and I really appreciated the tone here, and I really enjoyed this one. This is a vintage international edition from, this was published in 2001, and I'd gotten this years ago, really cheap at a book sale, so that's why it has this crease in there, but that's okay. Maybe I'll get a nicer copy at some other point, but I really, really enjoyed this. Also, for the Euro Challenge related to it, even though I read it beforehand, before the actual game took place, Portugal did end up getting knocked out by Belgium. So here we have Soccer by Jean-Philippe Toussaint. Again, I don't know if I'm saying that right. And this is a very thin book published by Rutgers University Press. I don't really know exactly why they chose to published this translation. I don't know how it fits into their overall brand. But it's kind of part memoir, part, they have it classified as world history. I wouldn't quite go that far. Kind of philosophical essays. However, it just kind of seemed like the World Cups were used as excuses just to talk about kind of like different points in his life, even if it didn't have to do with soccer. And I didn't quite always see the point in them. He does say in the beginning that this is going to be it's kind of a book for nobody. It'll be too intellectual for soccer fans, and intellectuals won't care about soccer, which I don't know if is a very fair assessment. Maybe that's more true in Europe. But I do like intellectual things, and I also do happen to like soccer, but I still couldn't quite figure out who exactly this book was for. So can't really recommend it, but anyway, it's a Belgian author. I also read William Castle's Memoirs. Step Right Up, I'm going to scare the pants off America. This is almost like self-published by William Castle Productions. It was originally published in 1977, or no, maybe 76. The year, yeah, this was 76. William Castle died in 77. And this is a reissue from 2010, and it looks nice. I did have a major issue with the formatting. Somebody who was formatting this didn't know what they were doing. There were just punctual errors, sentences kind of being dropped down when they weren't supposed to be, sentences that should have been dropped down that weren't. So it was very frustrating as far as a formatting aspect. That's really the publisher's fault here. But this was a terrific memoir. I loved it. I'm a big horror fan, but even without being a horror fan, William Castle was just a terrific raconteur. He knew how to tell a story. Every chapter had me laughing and turning the page with, eager intent. So yeah, I really like this. This is definitely one of my favorites of the month, aside from Patrick Süskind's book. So I highly recommend this, even with the formatting mistakes. I also began reading, refreshing my memory on the Civil War. So I read Bruce Catton's The Civil War. This is his one-volume history, originally published in 1960. A very good military overview. I did have issues with, of course, and it's understandable since 1960, with the way abolitionists were treated in this. I think that they deserve a lot more respect than what we see here. I had some issues with, how he characterizes some of the causes of the war. But, recent scholarship has certainly done a better job of that. And Bruce Catton was not a scholar. He was a journalist. So he was not a professional historian or anything like that. But he was a very good writer, and he has a very good grasp of how to tell the military aspect. So as far as a one-volume military history of the Civil War goes, I highly recommend this. But again, when it comes to social stuff, slavery, women are pretty much non-existent in this. All the other stuff having to do with the Civil War, definitely go for more recent scholarship on that. And just related to that, the last thing I had looked at in the month of June, it is now July, is The Long Road to Gettysburg by Jim Murphy. This is something that I had read when I was in middle school, and it is really made for that crowd. And it is a very good introduction for younger readers to the Battle of Gettysburg. It draws upon two primary sources, one of a young Union soldier and one of a young Confederate soldier. And goes back and forth between the action over the 3 days, and has plenty of maps and visuals to assist as well. And so even as an adult, I still enjoyed this. But yeah, especially if you have somebody who's of middle school age, interested in the Battle of Gettysburg, the Civil War at all, I would highly recommend this. And I didn't mention that Bruce Catton's book also is chock full of images that will really help any reader, whether you're, just beginning to read about the Civil War, or you're somebody who just knows a lot about it, there's still just plenty of images to go along with it. So that is what I read for the month of June 2021. Again, I think a pretty decent reading month. So we got 2 on the Civil War. I didn't really put these in order, but on the top and bottom, we got The Last Day, about the earthquake in Lisbon in 1755. We got Perfume, translated from German by Patrick Süskind, kind of a historical fiction / fantasy. We've got Soccer, Memoirs from Belgian author. And we have the Memoirs of William Castle, the B-movie mogul, and he of horror movie exploitation fame. So anyway, that's what I read. If you're interested in learning more about any of these, you can go back into my Fresh Read Kills videos and find the individual videos that deal with these. All right, but that's it. Not a bad month. All right. Thanks, BookTube.